Is this a break?
Oh, they need a table. They got a project?
Okay, so, Richard, or Bruce, you ready? Richard, you ready? Okay, so for those of you who don't, my name is Dwayne, and we got some new members, and Geneva introduced them a little while ago. I welcome you guys, and I'm actually the charter president, so it's really cool being back up here in front of you guys. And who thought, I know I didn't, 22 years ago, we would still be around 22 years later. Patrick was with us back then, and Patty over here was with us back then. I think, yeah, Richard. Were you guys around back then?
Probably.
I mean, they were. So yeah, and I know, I never thought we'd be 22 years out in the future, we're still going strong. That is just such a testament to, the pond craziness out there. Well, it's really cool. So our speaker today is, one thing I'll tell you, speaking back then, in May, the director of the San Antonio Botanical Garden told me, this is May of 2000, the director told me that we were, quote, the fastest growing horticulture-based club, unquote, he had ever seen. So that's neat. We're still going strong. So Richard, long time member, he's going to give a talk on common pond predators, and he used to, he still does, have his three-ring notebook that he would hold up in front of you with the picture and you print it off the internet. And I said, oh, pencil with that, we're going high tech. So, thanks to Geneva and her stick-to-itiveness, we finally got hooked up on the screens up here. So I'm going to click the buttons, and Richard will be talking to us. And I think he should be in the same presentation or the same order that they are in his notebook. So if Richard seems a little flustered once in a while, it's because the sequence is out of order. That's my fault, not his fault. But I think they're all in sequence, Richard.
Well, first of all, let me welcome you all. My name is Richard Mendez. I've been in the club for probably as long as the club has existed. I was the second president of the Pond Club for 2 years. And lately I have not been involved because of health issues. So hopefully over that, getting over it anyway, and be back with all of y'all, to share information or whatever. And but tell you a little bit about myself. Even when I was I think 5 years old, I started my first goldfish, and then I went to Almost Creek and started getting gambusia and crawdads, frogs, all the like. So fish have been a big part of me. Plus, I'm a Pisces. So what do you expect? Water symbol. But anyway, we started, I started, and after I grew up and everything, and I just finished, this is going to be my 7th year of being retired from City Public Service, 40 years of service. And so I'm glad I'm not in the heat anymore, because I work outside all the time. But my lifelong aspiration is working and being in touch with animals. Doesn't matter if insects, whatever. I love them all. And when we get to the snake portion of it, I know a lot of y'all. First thing is kill it. Well, I don't. I either capture it or transport it. I don't kill snakes. And but anyway, we get together and come up. If y'all have any questions, just let me know. Stop me. And there's quite a few pictures. During the parasite portion of it, I will not get into it. That's a whole another big issue. I'll tell you the most common ones, but that's another very that's another very intricate subject, And so I'll tell you about the most common one, how to treat it. And so we'll go.
Yes. Okay, let's see.
Goes so well.
Did it work? Oh, here we go.
First, we'll cover birds. And a favorite friend here, one of my favorites, and of course, when we had our ponds, we all pictured, getting ready, fulfilling, our dream of our pond. Every member has a different pond, and whatever works for your pond, that doesn't necessarily mean that it works for another. Each one is individual, just like we are. But one of the first ones that I encountered was a blue heron. which they're all over Texas, you know. And so my problem with the blue heron is that my father-in-law was a big hunter, waterfowl hunter, and so he gave me a bunch of decoys because he would quit hunting. And so I said, you know, I'm going to make my pond look a little bit more natural. So I threw mounted decoys out in my ponds. Well, guess what? He flew over and landed. And my wife says, hey, there's a big bird out there. I said, man, it's probably a raccoon or something like that. I went out there and there was a blue heron. You know? And so I shoot him away, and they say blue herons or herons do not go under a covered area, because my main pond is under a canopy. Well, no, they go under canopies. That's a fallacy, but they are also, they will clean your pond out if you have small fish. You know, they can take a fish that's about 2 pounds and swallow it, no problem at all. And in one of my past work areas was I worked at the San Antonio and the Houston Zoo for 10 years. So my specialty was birds. And so we would feed cranes and herons, and even the ones, if you go to San Antonio Zoo, you will see some of the birds that I have pictured here, that you can, if you want to see them for life or for real, they'll be at the San Antonio Zoo by the river, not inside, even though they have some exotic ones, but they'll be outside. If you go by the river, look up on the trees, you'll find some of these that are just waiting for the evening. The great white heron also was a visitor at my pond, and it wiped me out of my goldfish pond. And again, my wife says, hey, there's a big bird out there. And I said, is it the heron, blue heron? She goes, no, it's white. And I said, no, I thought it was going to be the little egret or something. No, it was a great white heron, and they're as big as the blue heron, and they will devastate your pond. They will eat, and they will just stay there till they finish. And if your pond is deep enough, you know, at least, 28 inches to 3 or 4 feet deep, even deeper, you're safe. But they will stay there until they get what they want. And to them, it's like a buffet. You know, they'll just go there and eat all your fish up. And the next one that we'll have is a cattle egret. There's another bird, and I'll show you a picture of the cattle egret. You don't have too much to worry about these cattle egrets. They're mostly out there with the cattle, and they're eating insects, but they will go in the water and they'll catch little fish. But most of these are out in the near with the cows. So
And they're not very tall.
pardon?
They're not very tall.
No, these are, the other ones are about 4 feet tall. The great heron and the great white heron, they're about 4 feet tall. They're about this tall. And they have a wingspan of almost 6 feet. So they need a lot of room to fly, to get up in airborne. But these cattle egrets, they're probably about 24 to 28 inches. They're probably about this high. And the next one is...
Speaking of the white birds, many, many years ago, I looked out into my yard, and in one of my trees, there was, I thought it was an egret, but now you're making me think maybe it was a white heron. I thought, wow, what a pretty bird. And then he flew down to the pond, and I grabbed my camera, and then he sat down by the pond, taking pictures, and the next thing I knew, he had one of my fancy goldfish in his mouth. Well, the camera was flying to the dining room table, and my pop-up instinct took over. And I mean, I slammed the sliding door open and went racing out because he took off with my fancy goldfish in his mouth. Don't let the photographer in you outweigh the pop-up.
And most of the time, the fish that you're going to lose is the fish that you like the most.
Of course.
That's, I don't know what it is, but it does. Yeah. And the snow egret, you can tell the difference between the cattle egret and the snow egret. The snowy egret has a yellow foot, and they're mostly in water. And what they do with the foot, while they're in there, they move. And so the fish, it's like a lure. They come to it, and to investigate, and then wham, they're gone. The cattle egret does not have yellow feet. And as you can tell, these have slightly more loose and lacy feathers. So, and these will be in the water all the time.
Are they about the same size?
Pardon?
Are they about
They're the same size, yeah. They're about the same
'Cause
size.
we have a big white one, that I always thought it was a crane, but it could be the white heron.
It's a white heron, yeah. Cranes are there, that's another predator, but those are mostly coastal. We're in the Central Flyway here in San Antonio.
So it'd be the white heron,
So it's a white heron.
yeah.
Yeah. The herons that are around here, of course, you won't see it, is the sandhill crane. And the whooping crane, you can't mistake it. The whooping crane's about as tall as I am. You know, and so, but the sandhill crane, if you live out in the country, not so much in the metro area, you may have one, but they're in flocks. I mean, so they're seldom seen here. And
Do we
but they
have
will eat fish.
We have white ibis here.
What?
White ibis, we have that one. I bet it was a heron in my yard.
Most of those I've seen in Florida.
Oh, they're not probably a heron.
No, they're probably cattle egret or a snow egret. This one right here, these are beautiful, and these are again the same height as a snow egret, but they're stockier. But these are more nocturnal. Now these, if you go to San Antonio Zoo and you go follow the river, go to the cypress trees, you will see a bunch of these roosting there. And they do have some, last time I was there, they did have some in captivity. But these guys, like, they're almost like an owl. They just sit there, and then in the evening, that's when they feed. And they come and they strike. And they're also voracious eaters. But as you can see, they have small fish. They're not into large koi or goldfish.
And they're about as tall as
As
the
the
little egret, but
Only
they're
they're
heavy.
stockier.
Yeah,
They're just a lot more stockier, but they're beautiful birds.
Do they have a long neck, just holding it in, or?
He's holding it in. Yeah, he's holding it in, but they're not as long as the egret though. And this one also, you'll see the green heron. These are a little bit smaller. These are probably the size of a grackle, and boat-tailed grackle. And they're also good fish eaters. And of course, all the herons are all frogs, toads, little snakes. They eat that little rodents. They'll go ahead and eat them too. But this little green heron, I've only seen 2 of them in my backyard, but it's very rare that you see them. And so, but he didn't get any of my fish though. That was a good thing. The kingfisher. We have several types of kingfishers here in the area. They're also kind of rare. Most of these are around farm areas, ponds, in the outback of the your ranches and all. When you have ponds, you'll see them. But they're mostly around lakes, and you'll see a bunch of these at Canyon Lake, in the wooded area, and you'll see them, and they're only, gosh, about 8 inches. They're about the size of a white-winged dove. They're real small, and they're beautiful. And you'll see them fluttering before they dive to get the fish, and they're really cool to look at. Now the osprey, these I've only seen at lakes. I haven't seen one by our house or the metro area. Bronick Lake, Calaveras Lake, Medina Lake, all of the near lakes around here, and they're all over Texas, especially the Gulf Coast. Now these guys will come down and take your fish from the air, and then they'll take them up high. At CPS where I worked, and I had to go to the power plants, and we had our towers up there. When they have to do maintenance on the towers, right up on the top of the towers, there's plates, metal plates. And the guys would come up and they come down and say, "Hey, there's a lot of bones, And I said, "What kind of bones?" I said, "Bring me the bones." And so they find, mice, rats, and then fur balls that they cough up, but a lot of fish heads, And so they said, "Well, what is it?" And I said, "Well, there's the ospreys." And I would tell them, "Okay, here's one flying," and all that. And sure enough, they go up there to eat, and whatever they didn't eat, they just left there. So just bake in the sun, and the skeletons were there unless it would rain, or you'd find them on the base of the tower. You'd find all these carcasses, sometimes, or skeletons. And so, but they are mainly fish eaters, and they do fish on
How big
flat.
are
These probably have, they have about a 30-inch wingspan, and they're very powerful. All the hawks and birds of prey, they're raptors, shall I say, have very strong paws. And what they do when they hunt, especially rodents, what they do, they curl up their paws and they hit them and they knock them out, and then they grab them. And I had to rescue a red-tailed hawk one time, and I put on the falconer's gloves. You can feel the pressure, and once they clamp on, they will not let go. They will not let go. So I had to rescue him from it used to be